Hi, I'm Lise from Lisa's Crafty Creations, and I thought I'll do a part 2 of getting to know you video. So what I'm working on today, I'm doing some diamond painting today, and this one is the one I showed from the EasyWim subscription box that I just received, which was number 3, and I'm quite pleased with it so far. It's the White Tiger Cub, that's the picture. So it came, it's double-sided adhesive. It came with a inventory sheet. So this is what's come off the inventory sheet. I photocopied it and put one in my logbook, which is there. Put one in my logbook. I kept one here to keep with the diamonds in case they become separated from the painting, so I know which diamond painting they belong to. It has 35 colours. It's a 35 by 35 round diamond painting. It's very sticky, very clear. I'm quite impressed with the clarity and the quality of the canvas. With it being a double-sided adhesive, you can often have problems, and I must admit I didn't handle this one very gently when I first received it. I was too nervous doing the video and I was a bit rough with it, and hence I've got a few bubbles, but I'm actually quite surprised that there's not as many as what there should be, considering the way I handled it. And they've come out beautifully, and it's not affecting the diamonds and the placement of the diamonds at all. I've got a Coverminder here, and that came from, I think it's Sammiescrafts on Etsy. If you put in Sammy and Coverminders, I'm sure it'll come up, but I'll try and link, if I remember, and if I'm able to do it, I'll try and link in the link to her Etsy shop. This is a beautiful Coverminder. I've got a couple of her minders, like for example, she sent me this one, free gift. Little crab with an order that I placed. So I've got a few different, I've ordered a few different Coverminders from Sammy. I really do like her work. I'm also looking at making some of my own Coverminders with some of the resin that I've been working with. My tray is from Amazon, and it came with a set. I was desperately looking for diamond paint, a large diamond painting tray with the funnel. I got one that came, I just ordered a single one, but it had the orange cover here and it didn't have the funnel. And I found it was really good. I just prefer the funnel for putting them into the bags and the small containers that I store my diamonds in, which are like Tic Tac boxes. I'll show you that in another video, my storage, the way I store my diamonds, the way I kit up, that kind of thing. I'll show you in another video. The pen is from Diamond Art Club. This is actually was a replacement pen that I got sent free of charge, because the original pen I'd bought, when I took out the multiplacer, it just cracked and chipped off here. So I contacted Diamond Art Club, sent a picture, showed them what happened, and they sent me out this new pen. It's not the same as the one I ordered, because they didn't have any in, so they sent me this one. They give me a choice, and I love this pen. The colours are just beautiful. You can really see them there in this light. It's lovely. So that's what I'm using at the minute. Yeah, I think I've told you everything. I've got my coffee, my camera's set up. I think I'm organised, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it won't be too bitty, because I am a bit nervous. And we'll see what happens. So I'm working on F at the minute, which is number 2, nice grey colour. So I thought I'd continue on from what I was saying. Last video was talking about the different jobs that I had and a little bit about my family life. So I thought I'll continue on and tell you a little bit more. I'll tell you a little bit about me, and then I'll tell you, go more into the different crafts that I do. So, as I said in the last video, I'm a mum of 3. I'm 48 years old, unfortunately. I wish I got the brain of a 20-year-old, and I've got the mentality of a 20-year-old where you think you can do everything. I've got the body of an 80-year-old, or some that it feels like sometimes. So life can be challenging at times when you want to do the things that you did when you were 20, but you're not able to because, as I said, life, the challenges of physical life get in the way. So I'm one of two. I was a twin, an identical twin. Only found that out about 10 years ago. Never knew whether I was identical or not. Some people think, well, how didn't you know? You can have fraternal twins who look exactly the same, and everybody's going, oh no, you're identical, you look the same. But being an identical twin is more than just looking the same. To be an identical twin, you have to have shared the same sac, as it were. What's the same umbilical cord? You're actually one egg split into two, whereas fraternal twins are two separate eggs. So you never ever get identical twins who are male and female. They're always either one or the other. So we weren't able to know whether we were identical or not, because when Mum had us, the afterbirth, it was unclear as to how many sacs there were and how many umbilical cords, because it was all broken up. So we were never able to know whether we were identical or fraternal. But then we had, unfortunately, my sister and I, we both got a very rare kind of cancer. And they wanted to know our genetics in case it was a genetical illness or cancer, or why the two of us, because not apparently this particular kind of cancer, being a twin, shouldn't have affected it, but I got exactly the same form of cancer. So we had genetic testing, and it came through, long story short, it came through that we were identical twins. Well, I was absolutely gutted, because it's hard being a twin, because people don't always, unless they've known you outside of a unit. So people who we grew up with, who knew us as twins from being young, for their first time they met them, they knew we were twins, or they met us as twins. They treat us like we're two in the same person, so we're not two separate individuals. They always talk about us in plural, and I must admit, I tend to talk about myself in plural. I'll say we did this or we did that rather than I, which probably doesn't help. So if you're finding when I'm talking, especially about my life when I was young, I'll tend to say we did this, and it's because I'm a twin and we tended to do everything together. So I do say we a lot rather than me or I. So you lose your identity a little bit. So I was gutted to be an identical twin, because that made us even more one of two. You know, we were the same egg, technically speaking. And my sister loved it. She likes what we refer to as the twin thing. So anything, you know, people think, oh, you can feel each other's pain. And I never used to believe that until, my sister did. She believed in it quite strongly. I forgot what number I'm doing, 29, I think. Yes. She believed in it quite strongly, you know, that she could, from a distance, know how I'm feeling and whether I was in any danger. And I was very sceptical of that. But then one time when I was about 19, 20, went horse riding, and my horse got spooked and took off. and it was heading towards a playground, and we used to skirt the side of this playground field, but for some reason my horse spooked and it went directly across the playground towards the swings. Well, there was a drop where the swings were, like a long big drop, and I knew the horse wouldn't handle this, it could hurt itself, so I really pulled, and it was a big horse because I didn't like riding. I don't like riding small horses or ponies. I like to have a big horse. I feel more safe. I don't feel like I'm going to go over the top of its head. But anyway, it was quite a big, heavy horse, big, beautiful animal it was. So it took all my strength to pull this horse in the opposite direction because it was going at like full canter, gallop, I mean, towards these swings. Well, because of me giving the force, it actually toppled me over and I ended up falling off. And then the horse took off. Thankfully, it took off in the right direction, away from danger. So anyway, this lady was near me, friend. I didn't know her very well, but she was with us in the group. And the others were a little bit behind, but she caught up to me. And she said, "You all right? You all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I remember her asking me whether I was all right. And she handed me the reins of her horse and then took off on foot after my horse. And I can never really understand why she left me with her horse, why she didn't take off after the horse on a horse to run after it on foot. Seemed a bit strange at the time. I've never really understood why she did that. But hey ho, everybody to their own. She decided she could run after it, then so be it, she did. And left me with this horse. And then everybody else turned up, but I don't remember that. I have no recollection of anything until I was sat on top of another horse and I kept saying, "This isn't my horse. Where's my horse? I don't know where my horse is." Anyway, by the time they'd got me on the horse, Julie, my sister, was actually already at the stables. And she was like, "There's something wrong, there's something wrong." And I always used to think, well, of course there was something, you knew something wrong. My horse had just galloped into the stables without its rider. Surely that tells you there was something wrong. But no, she apparently felt that there was, I was hurt, but it wasn't critical. Apparently, she knew that. I still to this day am very sceptical of it, I must admit, but he'll explain why I believe it more now. And anyway, I didn't remember anything, and then I was sat on top of this horse and I'm going, "This isn't my horse. Where's my horse? This isn't my horse." And that's all I kept on saying right away. And they'd go, "No, Lisa, you've had a fall. You fell off your horse. We'll put you on another horse. We're going back to the stables now." Right, okay. "This isn't my horse." And this would go on right the way back to the stables. And then I got off and I'd really banged my head. Thankfully, the helmet that I was wearing had protected me. But I was suffering from severe confusion. I didn't know where I was, what I was. And I got in the car and they wanted to keep me talking, because that was what you did back then. If there was somebody suffering potential concussion, you had to keep them awake and keep them talking. So that's what they were trying to do, and they're trying to keep me talking about different things. So I was engaged at the time, and I'd got my wedding dress, and everybody was going, "So what's your wedding dress like?" And I was struggling to be able to find the words to explain it because of my head and how painful it was, and just the confusion. And I couldn't get the words out, so I just told them to mind their own business and stop being nosy. I said, "It's got nothing to do with you, mind your own business." And the girl was a bit taken aback, but everybody was like, "Don't worry about it, she just is confused." Well, I got home and I ended up in hospital and ended up spending the night in A&E. Now, it was a Friday night. Oh, that was the scariest night of my life. They'd put me in, and then this man came in. They put me on the A&E ward. There was only about 6 beds. And as I say, I was only a young girl, 20-year-old, very naive, very innocent. And this man came and he was absolutely drunk out of his head. He was completely, and he was obviously a known to them. He was a known drunk to the hospital. Anyway, they put him in the bed next to me because they didn't have, it was back then, mixed wards was something that was quite common, especially in the likes of A&E department. And basically they had to keep him in for observation because he'd had a fall, he'd banged his head, and he was drunk. So the tried. Well, I was absolutely terrified because there's this man who was shouting abusive comments to the staff, and they were like, shh, quiet, there's somebody else, shush, shush. And I was petrified that he would get out of bed and come and have a look and see who I was. And but the nurses, they were very good. They kept checking on me every half hour. They'd do obs on an hourly basis, because back then when you were treating concussion, you didn't let the patient go into a full deep sleep. So they kept waking me up every hour, check my vitals and make sure I was all right. And I stayed in overnight and then came home, and I still to this day cannot remember at least half an hour. When I got to the hospital, they were asking me like, what's your name and what happened, and then they would call me by my name, and I'd go, how do you know my name? I haven't told you my name. And yes, you told us your name when we asked you earlier. No, I never. I didn't tell you my name. How do you know my name? And then they would tell me something to do that. I said, well, how do you know that? I haven't told you that. How do you find that out? And it was just the weirdest situation that I've ever found myself in. And I still can't remember what happened between me holding this girl's horse and sitting on top of another horse. And bits in between that, like between that and the next day, it is all a bit crazy. But I remember this man. Oh, I was terrified. Sorry, just having a slurp of coffee. And anyway, Julie had this sense that she knew there was something wrong, and as I say, the fact that my horse got to the stables before I did was an indication something was wrong. So I was a little bit sceptical at the time. But then about 10, 11 years, 2010, I had an operation. And the year before, Julie'd had an operation, 2009. And we had to have our stomachs removed. So Julie had the operation first. They discovered she had this kind of cancer, and it required a complete removal of her stomach. So she was going in for surgery. And I was at work at the time, and they'd said, if you need to go, just let us know and you can go. And I said, no, I'm fine. Working will probably do me good. I'll be okay. But then all of a sudden at about 10 o'clock, I became really agitated. Didn't know why, but I just felt that something wasn't right. I just felt like, something's going on. So I rang my boss and I said, I'm sorry. I said, but something's not right. And he says, Giselle, have you had a phone call? I said, no. I says, nobody's rang me. I said, I can't get in touch with anybody. I says, but I just, something's not right. And she understood, but didn't really understand. And she said, go on, just go. So I went. So I live 55 miles away from where my sister and mum and dad live now. I moved here when I got married. And I drove the 55 miles, and I was like really, really agitated during that time. And I got to my mum's, and I was like, and then I seemed to calm down a little bit. And I was like, no, she's fine, and she's gone in for surgery. We'd phoned Jared, her husband. No, she's fine. She's gone in for surgery. Everything seems to be okay. We haven't heard anything at the minute. Don't worry about it. So, and I calmed down, and I wasn't pacing as much, and I felt a lot calmer, and I thought, all right, okay, maybe, I'm just imagining things. Well, then we had to go and pick up her son from school. Her sons. She had two boys. No, she's had three by this point. She'd had three boys. And we had the baby, Ted, and then my mum did. And then we had to go and pick up Jake and Callum. So we went to pick them up, and while we were stood waiting for them, I again felt this agitation, and I was like, there's something not right. And there was another lady friend of ours there, and she's going, no, everything will be fine, everything. And I'm going, no, something's wrong. I says, I just feel like we need to ring. So I rang, and they said, oh, she's just come out of she's in recovery and everything's fine. But I just felt that, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, everything's fine. Well, then when Julie came round, we went to visit her, she was saying that the surgery didn't actually begin until about 10 o'clock. So the first bout of my agitation was around the time where they'd actually started the surgery. So they'd actually started to cut into her at about 10 o'clock. So they think that's what the agitation that I felt was, me reacting to the fact that they'd started the surgery on Julie. And I'm like, yeah. And then apparently at about 3 o'clock, she'd come out of surgery, but she'd had complications in recovery where they couldn't control the pain, and she kept coming in and out of consciousness in really, really bad pain. She would come round, and then because the pain was so severe, she'd pass out. And that was around the same time as I'd got this agitated feeling. So the thing that's what I was responding to with these two occurrences. The first where they'd actually started the surgery, and then the other times. So I still am a bit sceptical, but there was no other reason for this agitation. I can't really explain how I felt, but it was the weirdest feeling, that I just was like, something's happening. I didn't know what. I didn't know whether it was good, bad. I just felt that something was happening that was odd. And since then, I've been a little bit more, and we call it the twin thing. And we'll often say things at the same time, like we'll be sat at either end of a room and something will happen, but we'll both say exactly the same thing to the person sitting next to us. I contribute that to the fact that we know each other so well. we spent years in the same companies. I can almost do the same with my husband now, we'll react the same in certain circumstances. I know what he's thinking, what he's feeling. I can finish his sentences, that kind of thing. And it's because we know each other so well. And I often wonder whether it is actually a twin thing, or whether it's because we've almost lived each other's lives. We were in each other's pockets almost all of the time. We were in the same class at school all through our lives. We always had the same class. Even the only time we had different classes was in maths. I was in a higher grade than Julie. In maths, she needed a little bit more help. She struggled with her numbers, and that was the only subject where we were separated. We took the same options at school, which we weren't going to, but we ended up doing. And it wasn't something we decided together. It was just something that happened. We chose our options separately. We never discussed it with each other, and we ended up with the same subjects. And then we'd often have the same answer on exam papers, and they'd be like, have you cheated? Have you copied? And be like, no. We were sat, one behind the other, and we'd have the same answers on our papers. It was weird, some things were just, and we refer to it as the twin thing. Anyway, so that's a little bit about me being a twin. I'm not going to have this video, we're into about 25 minutes now, so I'll just talk a little bit about the crafts that I'm into. I do lots and lots of crafts. I've always been interested in art, and although I was never very good at it at school, and I didn't take it as part of an option because I wasn't very good at it, but I loved it, and I loved all the different ideas. I loved the pottery, I loved the painting, but as I say, I was never very good at painting or drawing. It was something that developed as I got older. I mean, I'm not the best of drawers, but I'm a copyist rather than a painter as such. I tend to copy other pictures or other drawings, which I can do quite well, but to actually think of something to paint myself or to draw myself, I'm not very good at. So diamond painting I got involved in about 6 years ago. I was looking for other things on Wish. At the time I'm still into Wish quite a lot. I get a lot of stuff from Wish because it's cheap, and if I want something and trying it out, I'll pay the money on Wish because it's cheap, rather than, although you do have to watch shipping can take you a bit by surprise on Wish. So I discovered, and I like diamond, it was called diamond cross stitch or diamond embroidery, and I'm like, what on earth is this diamond cross stitch? I just couldn't fathom what it was, and you couldn't really see what it was from the picture. And then they would show you these other pictures of these little squares, and I'm like, what on earth is it? How do you do it? Is it beadwork? Is it, how is it cross stitch? I couldn't understand how it was cross stitch. So I thought, right, I'm just going to get one and see what happens, see what it is. So that's what I did. I just ordered one and thought, right, we'll see what it... Well, when it came, I was like, what on earth? All these little tiny diamonds, and I had this, and I thought, what's this for and what's that for? And well, I worked out where the pen must be to help you put the diamonds on the piece of paper. The tweezers must be, for something similar. Then there was this little tray. I thought, well, that's obviously to put your diamonds on. But what's this pink stuff? And I couldn't work out what I needed to use the pink stuff for. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have to look up how to do it. So I did. I didn't use YouTube very often back then. And I thought, well, I'll have a look. And somebody said, well, I'll have a look on YouTube. So I had a look on YouTube, and there wasn't many diamond painting channels back then. And, I mean, we're talking 6-7 years ago. And I looked it up and I found how to do it. So I was set away, and I had my little easel up, and I had an art. I bought my daughter an art box with paints, and it had like a slight easel to it. So I set that up and I did it, and I thought, I like this. I'm enjoying this. It's fun. So I did that one, and it was a 25. It was about a 25 by 25. So, yeah, about 25 by 25. And it was of a gold. It was like gold and silver colours. And it was of a rose, a large rose in the middle, and then some small rose and leaves and a background. And it was a full painting and full coverage. So I thought, I like this. I'm going to order more. So I give that one away as a golden present for a golden wedding anniversary to a friend, and she loved it. She thought it was brilliant. So then I started ordering one. I ordered another one, and then I ordered another one, and then another one, and then I ordered about 4 or 5, and I was doing at least one a week. Sometimes it was one every couple of days. And I started off with the small ones. I didn't go bigger than a 40 by 50. Well, then I started expanding and getting bigger and bigger ones and more complicated ones, and I got a few, ordered them, and a few came as special drills. And I didn't order them because they were special drills. They didn't even say special drills. They just, you got them, and that's what came. And I started off with square, actually. My first diamond paintings were square. And then, what is that symbol? Oh, it's one of them, number 7. And one thing led to another, and I was hooked, and I've never looked back. I had a small break with diamond painting when we started decorating because they put all my stuff away, and I was like, I was all right at first, but then I started having withdrawal symptoms. So I did lots of other crafts in the meantime. I took up quilling. Loved quilling. Still love quilling. I tried glass cutting. I bought a glass bottle cutter to make like wine glasses or vases, that kind of thing. Tried that. I loved it, but then I needed something to make a base with for the wine glasses to make the actual stand, and then I thought of resin, and I think that's the wrong symbol. Yeah, that's a bit confusing. Then if we could, no, that's the right one. There's a little bit of confusion with 2 of the symbols on here, but you can't tell them apart. They're just very similar colours and very similar, like dark with a white symbol. But one's a circle with a line through it, and one's a diamond. So it takes a little bit of concentration. So just excuse me a minute. So what was I saying? Yeah. So I went into quilling and then this glass work, yeah, but then I had to work out how to make a base, and I thought resin will do the trick. So I had some UV resin. I tried that. That didn't work very well. Although it did work, it was just slightly wonky and it needed some sanding. It was very thick because I'd made my own mould and everything. But now I've got some nice coaster moulds which I think would work well as a base for these glasses because they're quite big. Why, as you can imagine, it's from the bottom of from the top half of a wine bottle. So the stem is actually the neck of the bottle, and then the glass is obviously about the 3rd quarter of the way up the bottle is the glass. You just need to put a base on. And I'm looking at doing a resin base. So I'm still going to experiment with that at some point in the future. But when, I don't know. Again, this is something, this is what I do with crafting, you see. I try something and I think, oh, I could do that, but then because I haven't got the stuff, I get bored with it. So when I start a craft, I tend to buy everything I could possibly need to do that craft, because if I start it and I haven't got what I need, I then get frustrated and annoyed, and I leave it then and move on to something else, and then I forget about it. So that's how I started most of my crafting. Anyway, I went on to quilling. Love quilling. I do knitting and crocheting. I've crocheted since I was little, although I only ever did a little bit of crocheting. I never went into... My nana taught me, and she could never read a pattern. She just used to do crocheted squares and make blankets and that kind of thing. And so I could do a square, but that was all I could. And I can't remember now even how to do a square, although I'd still remember the stitches. But I learned how to read a pattern. I taught myself from YouTube and from knowing the stitches and the names of the stitches. I taught myself how to read a pattern. So I can actually read a pattern, but I find it difficult and I have to concentrate really hard, and I don't like that. I can't cope with that, and if I can't do it right and it's not spot on, then I get bored, I get fed up and I don't do it. I quit, stop if I can't do it nicely, then I don't do it at all. So I tend to knit because I love knitting. In fact, I used to have a reputation for staying at home and knitting rather than going out. As a teenager, you know, I'd be like, no, I'm going to stay at home, I've got some knitting to do. So I used to do me knitting, and everybody else would be out doing I don't know what, and I'd be at home knitting. Used to be a laugh. So I love me knitting. I've knitted all kinds of stuff: blankets, babies, jumpers for myself, jumpers for other people, all kinds of stuff I've knit. And I do a little bit of crocheting, but not a lot. The quilling, I got into quilling, which is basically paper curling. I love that. So I've got nearly everything I need to do quilling, and I can make cards and pictures, and I've mixed quilling with diamond painting, so like especially if they're partials. I've got one, I did a little mouse sat on a rose or a daisy. The daisy wasn't actually diamond painted, and I didn't like the finished look because it looked like the daisy was actually in the forefront of the picture, but it was the mouse that stood out because it was diamond painting, and what you needed really was the flower doing as well, but they hadn't. Because of the perspective of the picture, I just felt that this daisy needed to stand out a little bit more. So the mouse looked like it was actually sat on or behind the daisy rather than the daisy just being sort of melded into the background and the mouse being in the forefront. It was, anyway, it's hard to explain, but I decided that this flower needed something. So what I did was I quilled a daisy and actually glued it on top. So you've got a diamond painted mouse, and then which is sat on this daisy, which is made up of paper swirls and curls and folded rolled paper ribbons. I was very pleased with the result. I liked it, and I look at doing more like that, mixing the two together. I think is really effective. So I'm going to do a few more like that on some of the partials that I've got, just to finish them off a little bit before I pass them on to whoever I decide to give them to. I do tend to give all my diamond paintings away. I've only kept a couple. I've done 3 for myself. One I've got framed up on the wall. I'll show you. I'll just spin the camera around so you can see that one there. I've got that one framed and on the wall. And then I've just finished Chuck Pinson Diamond Art Club with Chuck Pinson's Treasures of the Outdoors. I've just finished that one. It's rolled up and boxed and put away at the minute, but I intend to put that on the wall in my passageway so everybody can see it when they come in. So it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. But most of the others I just give away, because as I say, I do diamond painting and craft work mainly as a source of therapy for my bipolar. I find I need something. If I'm not busy doing something with my hands, or in keeping my mind occupied, I then start thinking not very nice thoughts, and I get myself into a serious depression or a role of negative thinking, which I need to get out of, which is very difficult once you're in that circle of negative thoughts. It's very difficult to get yourself back out into a positive frame of mind. So I tend to find that diamond painting helps me focus my mind or keep my mind busy, because I'm so occupied and concentrating on the actual painting that it helps. So we class it as therapy. That's why I managed to get away with buying so many, because my husband recognises the fact that I actually need this for peace of mind, and he recognises that I'm better when I'm busy doing this type of thing than when I'm not. So we view it as I say, we view it as therapy. So I would buy the paintings anyway for my own peace of mind, but and I like to choose, you know, I do paintings that I like and I'm interested in. I don't just pick anything. And I tend to give them away, because otherwise they just sit in my house and get forgotten about. So rather than all these beautiful paintings stuck in a cupboard somewhere, I actually give them away, and people love them. There was once, when I was in hospital, I spent 4 weeks in hospital with when I was first diagnosed with asthma, and because I was in with respiratory problems, and as long as I was on a nebulizer or on oxygen, or I had my inhalers and things, I wasn't too bad. But they wanted to find out exactly what was the matter and what was causing it, because I had this constant cough, which set off this difficulty in breathing and the asthmatic results of asthma. So they were in trying to identify what was causing the cough. Then I was in about 4 weeks, and in that time I was bored, so I said to Jeremy, can you bring in my diamond painting? So he would bring in a painting, and then the nurses were like, wow, that's gorgeous, you know, what's this called and why you do that? And I got loads of the nurses into diamond painting. Oh, I'm going to have a look at that. So a lot of them went on and I bought myself a diamond painting and come in the next day. I'm going to sit down and do that. And so I got loads of people hooked on diamond painting. But I also give a lot of the paintings to the nurses, because they said, well, they would say, oh, I really like that one, that's gorgeous, because they asked to see some of the different works, so my husband brought them all in. So they would look through them and say, oh, I love that one, that's really nice. And I said, well, keep it, have it. So all the nurses on the ward, all shifts, they all got a diamond painting. And it was out of appreciation for the things they did. I mean, they work hard and they don't get much recognition. And they really looked after me well. So they all got a diamond painting and they loved it. And I had enough to give every member of staff a diamond painting and come home with about 50. So I have done a lot, but as I say, I've been doing it for about 7 years, diamond painting. I mean, that was when I was in hospital, was 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd built up a good selection of diamond paintings. So as I say, I must have been doing it for about 7 years now, and I still learn lots of different things. I mean, I've learned about lots of different companies, from the likes of Annie, well, not so much Annie, she does more resin work, but Mrs. Coffee, Rachel Ray, Anne, can't remember what her site is called, Mindy, I'm no good at these sites, but I can maybe try and link their YouTube channels in the description box when I get a chance and when I learn how to do it. So yeah, so I've been doing that for a while. Quilling I've been doing for about 3 years. Knitting and crocheting I've been doing since I was about 10, 11. What else do I do? I tried felting, or I got the stuff to do some felting, but then never really got down to the results of felting. Seem to take too long. I need some kind of result. I need to see the results of my work. That's why I think things like quilling and knitting and crocheting and diamond painting appeal so much, is because the results come up so quickly. You can see, ah, yes, I can see this is happening and that's appearing. And but if the results are slow and you can't really see the progress very quickly, then I become fed up and bored with it. And I think that's what happened with felt work. It's a slow process making these little bodies of animals and that. But I am determined. I've got the stuff, so I am determined I'm going to give it another chance and see what happens. So that's a little bit more about myself. I'm going to leave it there because we've been on for 45 minutes and uploading this video is going to take forever. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll tell you a few more stories next time I'm on, another getting to know you, and tell you some maybe of the funny stories that have happened in the different jobs that I've done, and tell you a little bit more about my life. So I'm going to leave it there. I love you and leave you, as I say. Pass on a smile if you get the opportunity to. Please press the bell to be notified when I do a video, which at the minute could be any time because I'm just developing my channel, and I tend to do videos when everybody's out because it's quieter. So I don't know when I'll get a chance to post them, but I'll try and post a couple a week. So watch out, hit that bell to be notified when that happens. Please subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of the team. Give me a thumbs up. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.